Hello guys, welcome to today's video. So in today's video we are going to create a login page that looks like this. Let's wait for the login page to load. So it's loading. Okay, so we are going to create a login page that looks like this. A page, we have a username. You can enter your username and where you can enter your password as well. We have this hide and show password. When you click on the button, the hide appear with the eye crossed. Then click back, show hide. Then we have our login button. We have our forgot password, sign up. For now, these buttons are not doing anything, which we are going to take care of it later. But for now, let's create this beautiful login page right now. So before we go, as you can see, whenever I launch the login page, the loading page appears before the login page comes. So in a previous video, we created this loading page from scratch, and I'm going to drop the link in the description. In case you want to know how I created this loading page from scratch, there's a link in the description for you. You can check this out as well. And for now, let's focus on the login page for now. So once again, if you want to check out the loading page, I'm going to put the link in the description for you to check it out. So let's quickly get into the video. So right now, let's import what you need for this video. So let's say from Tkinter, let's import everything. Then we need to import pillow as well. If you don't have pillow in your, so from import from pillow, we are importing image.tk. Should be image.tk, not image.tk. Image.tk, then image. So if you don't have pillow, you just have to go to your terminal, wherever you are, whether it's Python, Visual Studio Code, or whatever. Just type pip install pillow, then click enter. You need a pillow, you need a network, you need to be connected to the internet. For me already, so if I already have pillow inside my system already, so already requirement already satisfied, pillow in your Python system. So to install pillow, let me put the code here so we don't forget. If you have pillow, you just have to type pillow, so pip install pillow to install before you can be able to import this. But you may ask, if I already have this in the system, why is it still underlined red? Because pillow is not inside the project folder right now. I've installed virtual environment inside this project folder, and pillow is not inside, so it's not recognizing it. But because I already have it in the system, it's not going to matter anyway. It's still going to work. So let's get into the video. So let's go to class. Let's define our form. Let's call it login form. And let's define, let's say init self window. So let's say self.window is equal to window. So let's give our window a size So let's say serve.window.geometry, and let's give it a size of 1166. We need some quotes first. 1166 by 718. So let's go ahead and launch the window. Before we launch it, say if name. I think I'm having some errors still. Well, I think because of the pillow anyway. If name is equivalent to so let's say page. Now let's come right to the top and define our page. The page we've called under the name ref. So dev.page. So now let's assign window tk login form. So let's assign it to window. Okay, so we can now run our page and see. Okay, so we have our page nicely placed here, but as you can see, anytime the page launches, we want our page to zoom to maximize anytime we launch it, but we don't want to be maximizing the page anytime we launch it. So we are going to make it to automatically maximize on its own by itself. So how do we do that? We use the use window state, something called window state. So we say state, then we put it in zoomed. Okay, I think the state should be lowercase. Okay, zoom. Okay, so as you can see, our page has automatically maximized on its own. It has zoomed by its own. Anytime we launch it, it will automatically maximize on its own. So another thing is, let's turn off this restore button so that the user won't be able to restore this page back to wherever it is initially. Remember, we set this page to automatically maximize on its own. So we don't want the user bringing it back to where it was before we set it to zoom on its own. So let's turn off the restore button. So how do we do that? We use the resizable function, window resizable. So window dot resizable. We set it to 00. Let's launch it and see. So as you can see, now the restore button is not working again. Okay, so now that we got our window, let's put our things on our window. Let's design our window. So we need a background image. The reason why I initially asked you to install pillow in the system, because without the pillow, we won't be able to use the images inside the Tkinter the way we want to use them inside this project. So if you don't have pillow, kindly click on the link pip dot. Kindly use the function I place here, which is pip install pillow, before you can be able to use our image. So I have inside my project folder, I have some images here. has a lot of images here. I'm going to be using few of them inside the project here. So I'm going to be referencing to this image folder a lot inside the project, so don't get confused. So to use our image, let's create some comment here so we won't get confused. So let's name this background image, say background image. Now let's say self dot, let's call this background frame, and let's say image dot, say open, let's use images. So the image I'm going to use is background. I'm using this image inside my images folder. So like I said initially, I have an image folder inside my project folder, and I'm using the images on it. So inside the folder, what this means is that inside the images folder, import this image background 1. That's the name of the image here. So that's what all this is about. So now let's assign our image inside the photo. So let's say photo inside the photo label. So let's say image tk dot photo image, and let's call this, let's link it to our BG frame. Remember our BG frame is the image. So quickly, let me comment this below thing and see something. Okay, immediately I've commented this, you can see that this is underlined. Now Python said unresolved reference image tk. Remember, that is why I said if you don't use the pillow, this is not going to work anyway. Remember I said I have pillow in the system, so it's still going to work. So even though Python is underlying this thing that I don't have it, because I have it in the system, it's not doing anything here. So that's how come here. So make sure you import pillow inside this folder. And the next step, now we link our image. Now let's put our image inside label. You know, in Tkinter it's hard to manipulate images, so let's try and put our image inside the label. So we are going to use the label attribute for label to manipulate the image. So whenever we put the image inside the label, it's going to give us the free will to be able to manipulate the images. So let's define a label, and let's name the label. Let's name our label, let's say BG panel. So our label, and let's put it on a window. I'm putting it on our window, so serve dot window, and we are calling the image inside the label, so photo. So remember here we assigned our photo here. Initially we call our photo inside this BG frame here, and we place the BG frame inside this photo here, and now we are calling it here. So instead of calling the image straightforward here, we are calling this photo because now the image is inside this photo that we have signed here. So that's why we are calling it here. So now we are calling the photo inside the label we just named here. So let's one more thing. So let's say self dot bgpanel.image. Now, because you are trying to put the image inside the label, it's very necessary we link the label to the photo. So right now, the label is going to be our photo. That's how it looks like. So that's why I said bg frame, which is our bg panel, which is our label, dot image is equal to the photo here. And remember, our photo is what is here, the background one.png. So quickly, now let's place our window. So let's say self dot, now let's say, let's call our bg panel, and we are going to use pack. So let's put a fill here. We want our background to, we want our image to act as the background. So let's say fill both, and let's expand it to fill the background. So expand attribute, yes. Okay, so let's see what we got here so far. So as you can see, we have our image nicely placed on our background. We have our image nicely placed on our background. So next thing we have to do now is we want to put a frame, some frame on the image, where we put our login button and the things on it. So let's quickly define our frame and put it here. So let's quickly come down to the here. Let's name our frame here. So let's call it login frame. And let's assign our login frame to, say, self. Let's call it login self dot login frame is equal to, let's say, frame. It should be uppercase F. Okay. So we are putting our frame on our window, self dot window. Let's give it a background color of, I'm using this black. So this is a color code that I'm using, color code of black, but it's not as black as the normal black. So width, I'm giving a width of 950, and a height of 600. Okay, so the next thing is, let's get here, let's say self dot login frame dot place. So let's say x should be equal to 200 and y should be equal to, let's say, 70. So we've assigned our frame. Let's launch it and see. So here we have our frame nicely placed on our photo, on our background here. So on this frame, we are going to put a label here. Name, we are going to put a welcome label on this frame. So let's quickly get into it. So in this frame, remember, I use a background color here. Like this is black as well. You can use any color you want. It doesn't matter, it will still work. So let me change this. Let me put yellow here for you to see something. So as you can see, our frame is yellow. So this is just a color code that I just placed there. It's not anything different. Okay, so let's get into the video again. And this time around, let's create some heading. And then we'll come to the top here so that I'll have enough space. So let's define this. Let's say self.text. Let's this using welcome text. So let's assign our text to heading. Let's say text.heading label. So we are putting this text on a label, just as we did with the image. We are assigned our image, put it inside the label. Same thing we are going to do with the text. We want to put the text on a window and display it on a Tkinter page. So same thing we are going to do here. So let me copy this down here, because we are going to place this text on the login frame. So it's very necessary we put the text beneath it. So now, instead of putting the text on the window, remember our login frame is the black frame which you put on the image, and we are going to put our entry box and buttons and everything on it. So this time around, instead of calling itself the window, we are going to call the login frame rather, because we are going to put our items on the login frame. So I'm going to use self.login frame here rather. Then let's call our text inside. So text is equal to txt self.txt. So the self.txt is the name we assigned to the welcome here initially. So we are calling it inside the label. So that's all this is about. So let's give it a font. So I'm going to use a default font inside PyCharm. PyCharm has a lot of default fonts. We have Roboto, we have Arial, we have a lot of fonts, font style that comes with Python, that comes with PyCharm, sorry. So I'm going to use this. So any font style of yours that is in your mind, you can use it. You don't necessarily have to use the same thing I'm using. So when I'm using Ugotic UI with a font size of 25. I want it to be bold. So the next thing, let's give it a background. So we are going to use the same background color here so that it will blend with our background, our login frame background. So we need to use the same thing here, and let's give it a color of white. We want our text to be white. So let's place the text then. So now self.place self.heading, sorry. Self.heading.place. We want our text to be 80. Let's say our y should be like 30. Let's give it some width of like 300. Some height of 30. Okay, so here is our text nicely placed here. Our welcome text nicely placed here. So now that we got our text, let's place some image under the text at the left side of the Tkinter page here. So we want to place some text here, some image here under the text. So without wasting much time, let's copy this and just edit this. Let's come down here. And down here, let's call this left side. Let's call this left side image. So let's paste this here and edit it. So we want to name our image side image. Let's come here as well. Call it side image. Since we are going to place the image inside the label, just as we did with that one. Same thing, same procedure. So let's name our label side image label. So here will also be side image label. Same thing here. So this time we are going to use place. Initially we wanted our image to fill the whole background, but this time we just want to place it on the background frame. So now, because we are placing our image on the login frame, we are going to call the login frame here. So login frame, we are placing it on the login frame. So let's put it at, let's say x is equal to 5. And let's assign y value of 100. So I'm going to use different image. I'm using this vector PNG image. So we are good to go. Let's launch it and see what we have. This is our image nicely placed here. But let's change the background as well to blend with the frame. So let's quickly copy the background here, background color here. Let's come here. Let's see. Okay, so now the background has blended perfectly with the login frame. So now we are going to create our entry boxes and things at the right side here. So let's get into it. So we want to place, let's clear this as well. So we are going to need this again. So let's copy it. Let's edit it. So let's call it sign in image. So we are going to use and let's change this to sign in image. Same thing here, and here sign in image label, sign in image label, sign in image label. Now let's change our x value to, because we want it to go to the left side, far left, so far right side, sorry, the right side. So we are putting it here. This is going to be 130. So let's quickly launch it and see. Okay, so we have our image beautifully placed here. So let's put some label here, sign in label under this image here. So remember my images, as initially before I started the video, I said I have all my images here. So in case you are wondering where I'm getting the images from, the images are here. This one I'm picking the images from. So you can use any image of your choice as well, just for you to complete the video. So right now we want to create a sign-in label under the image we just placed at the right side of our page. So let's quickly come down here and okay, let's say serve. So say sign-in label, as usual. We are putting it on our login frame, which is the black background that we placed there. And let's give it some text. So the text is, let's say, sign in. Nicely done. Let's give it the background, same as this as well. Then let's give it a foreground white. So you want the color of our label to be white, so that's what here. So I'm going to give it a font. So remember, I'm using the default font. Robotic UI. Is it font style of, I think, 13. No, let's 13, then bold. So let's place our label to serve the sign in. assign label dot place as x is equal to 650. Okay, let's launch and see what we got. So we have our label here. I think it's too small. Let's increase the size a little bit to 17. Okay, nicely done. We have our label placed under here. So let's create some entry boxes under this. So under this, let's create so we are creating username field. So let's call this username. This is self.username. Username label. Let's go to label. This should be uppercase. As usual, we are placing it on the login frame. Let's use the same background here. Now let's copy the font style. We want to use the same font style throughout the code. That's what you are doing. Let's change this to 13. Let's give this one a foreground of. So this, I also have another color code in mind. You can also use any color of your choice. So as well, that's okay for you. So let's say E for the So let's see what we got. Okay, we have our username nicely placed here. Now let's create some label under it, some entry box under it, where is going to allow us to enter username, which is the entry field. So under this, we want to create username entry. So let's say self dot username entry. So we want highlight. Highlight thickness equal to 0. Let's make sure this is spelled correctly. Highlight thickness. Okay. We want to relief. Let's use the same color here. So we want to use FG. Let's use another color code. So let's say 6B6A 69. And we need the fonts as well. So this is basically the text that is going to display inside the entry box. So you are trying to give the text a foreground and a background and the relief and the highlight thickness. So this is what we are doing. The text that is going to display inside the entry box. Anytime you click the entry box, the text that you are going to type inside are just editing. So let's copy this because we need it again. The font style. Let's paste it here. Let's change this to 12 to make it a little bit smaller. So let's place. So self username entry. X of 580 Y of 2 359. So let's see what we got. Note option. Highlight thickness. Okay, I think there's spelling problem. I was preventing this, but still it got me anyway. There should be H there. Okay, so we have our entry box here. I'm not going to see it because we blended the entry box with the background. So let me quickly put red color there for it to view it easily. So here's our entry box we place here. Nicely placed under the username label. So we want the entry box to blend with the background here. So that's why we are using the same background color here. So let's quickly place. Let's create a line. I'm going to use the canvas to create a line underneath beneath the entry box. So to do that, let's define. So let's say username line. We are using canvas. Let's say self dot. Let's call that because you want to place it on the login frame as usual. Give it a width of 300. Let's want to use the same color here. Now let's use another color so that it won't blend with that one. So let's say BDB9B1. So let's copy this highlight thickness here as well. Nicely placed. Let's place it nicely here. So self dot username line. Dot place. Okay, let's launch it and see what we got. Okay, so we have our user, we have our line nicely placed, canvas line nicely placed under the label. So next thing we are going to do, we are going to put some icon here in front of the label here nicely here.